It's your boy Crypto Millie back with another one, another weekend in cryptocurrency. A little bit of a correction going into the weekend here, and we're going to be talking about that. But you know what, these corrections birth opportunity. And if you are interested in buying the dip, make sure that you check out my crypto.com link. I will put the link in the description. If you're new into crypto and looking to, get off the sidelines, there are opportunities there, and you can even earn a, free 25 bucks. So make sure you check out that if you're interested in buying the dip. Of course, not financial advice. Now, I'm gonna talk about what I'm personally doing and looking at. So guys, make sure y'all stick around. We're also going to be talking about some of the market signals and catalysts for the end of 2025, and also maybe Q1 and Q2 of 2026. So stick around for that as well. So with that being said, let's get into the BTC chart. I want to talk about what I'm actually seeing because contrary to many beliefs, I think that the cryptocurrency market is still a little bit bearish, right? And like I said in the beginning of the video, just because things are bearish doesn't mean there won't be any opportunity. But I want to explain kind of like what I'm looking at, right? So we talked about how we were not trying to time the bottom, because you cannot time the bottom. But what we're looking for are signs that tell us that this little dip is starting to level out, right? We're starting to get those floor levels and maybe potentially prepared for the next leg up, or maybe just a retest of some of these weekly moving averages. But you can see here that the ultimate RSI is starting to curve up. I wouldn't go and say, oh, well, it's putting in the bottom yet, because this is the weekly chart. And if I simply just go to a lower time frame, you can see we still are unable to break this orange line here on the ultimate RSI. So in my opinion, even if things are oversold, until we're able to break this line on the ultimate RSI on the daily and get back above some of these these moving averages here on the daily, in my opinion, Bitcoin is going to struggle. And if Bitcoin struggles, then the entire cryptocurrency market is going to struggle. And again, I can go back here and show you guys how, the difference between the weekly and the daily charts here. So I'm not saying things aren't oversold, because things in a way are oversold, but that doesn't mean that because things are oversold that we found a bottom, right? It all goes back to the extension from here, June 2022, when Bitcoin was 15K. So most YouTubers not going to say this, they're afraid to like be honest, but anybody that has any type of experience with charting and looking at historical data can see that there is weaknesses inside, from a TA perspective. We're not even talking about the macro or the lack thereof of liquidity. If I just go to the total cryptocurrency market, because I like to look at the total, because this tells me exactly, how, in a way it gives me a sentiment checker, right? And every time, you can see every time that we got to these levels, we bounce. So the question is, we're to these levels again, where we're kind of tapping the trend line, and maybe we just break it for a quick little second on the weekly, and then we get back above it. But we need to get back above it. There is no hanging down below it, especially with these moving averages starting to trend to the downside. And like we've seen from the BTC chart, if I just go to a lower time frame, just to kind of like get some type of confirmation that a trend could possibly be changing on the weekly, we're still not there on the daily. And we still have a lot of leverage in the market. There's still a lot of institutions that are in profits. These institutions got into Bitcoin around the lows. They got into ETH around the lows. Institutions been buying for multiple years now. So we don't know what their cost basis average is and how much they're in profits, or if they're in an L, right? If they're in a loss. So that's something we got to pay attention to. So with that being said, if the total in the Bitcoin is struggle, I think there's a good chance that altcoins continue to chop up and struggle here. And every time we get a little bit of green in the market, everybody starts cheering again, but ignoring the underlying issues here. Now, I'm going to talk about some catalysts and why this could be an opportunity, but I first always want to point out the concerns. All right, so we looked at that. Let's check out the TVL. Make sure that you like and subscribe. I was watching looking at a video, I think, of Tommy Lee when he was talking about artificial intelligence being even more bullish on AI than crypto itself. So, make sure you go check out my prediction market video that I just made. And if you like the edits, let me know inside the comments. The TVL is 121, so that's a good thing. TVL is starting to look like it wants to bounce back. I think the last time we made one of these videos, it was like at 119. The video before that, it was around 116. So the TVL is not falling off too bad. People are putting capital in stable coins, which tells me that people want to prepare for more downside, but they're not totally taking their money outside of cryptocurrency. So that's a good sign. And we continue to see these inflows, right? On the daily, we could continue to see inflows here. There are institutions buying the dip here for ETH and Bitcoin. If we go to the weekly, it's the first time where we're seeing both BTC and ETH getting inflows in a while. So sellers do seem to be exhausted. And usually when leverage and sellers are exhausted, you start to see the institutions buying the dip. They're very, very smart. They got quant tools. They see things that we personally can't see from a chart perspective. So this is actually a good sign that institutions are starting to bid this dip, maybe for their clients, maybe because they think that the market goes higher. But just be cautious, because when you see these dips getting bid, have an understanding that whenever we break former support, it then turns into resistance. And more times, and it's kind of like a CME gap, these assets, they go to retest these gaps. They go to retest these moving averages. So the fun doesn't start until we can reclaim the well, let's just go here to BTC, because BTC is a little bit more easier to read. But the fun currently doesn't start until we get back above 102, right? Like based on historical data, cycles continue as long as we can hold that 50-week, and we're just not there yet. We're just not getting the buys yet. We're just not getting the volume and the liquidity and things that we need to get there. But it could possibly be coming, and we got to talk about that. First and foremost, we got 11 days here until the FOMC meeting. So now that we got all the bearish doom and gloom out the way, right, for the most part, right? Of course, there's always going to be macro noise, the war tensions, tariffs, all that shit. We don't got to talk about that. We know it's there. But at the end of the day, we know that the Fed is starting to move in a direction in the next 2 or 3 days. QT will be done finally. And this is why, even though I'm bearish short term, I recognize the opportunity, because I want to have skin in the game to see how cryptocurrency as a totality performs in an environment where liquidity is not restricted, in an environment where they're adding liquidity and not removing liquidity. And we haven't really had that, even though Bitcoin and ETH has had a cycle, right? But this change could be the change that we need to have an altcoin season. And that's why I think it's still risky giving up on cryptocurrency at the point where the Fed could possibly be moving into another direction. And not only as this cut a catalyst, because I don't want to per se, sit here and be like, oh, the cut is going to be the reason we pump. No, right? There's just a small catalyst. I also got 10 market signals. If you're in the Patreon, you got this early. This is why it's important to be part of the Patreon to get exclusive, things that I build. I built this for you guys based off my research, and I also post videos in the Patreon. So yesterday, Trump said stocks, he plans on keeping stocks at all-time highs. If that happens, then crypto cycle will continue to go up as well. Big tech CapEx at levels never seen before. We're seeing more and more money flow into artificial intelligence. Everybody's bidding on AI. AI is literally here. The AI economy still booming. We just talked about the Fed cut, right? Despite the inflation that so-called tariffs are creating, Fed still cutting. Bullish. Global AI build out, infrastructure spending at historical levels. So again, everybody has their eye on artificial intelligence, and for the right reasons. Like if you did anything in AI, I was just like building a game the other day. I shared it on X, and the amazing features and how this is supposed to lead us into a era where, we can truly have freedom and be the creators we want to be. And artificial intelligence helps the economy, but some people believe it hurts and it takes jobs. But that's neither here nor there. Point is, money is flowing into it and everybody is, interested in this bubble. QT ended in 2 days. Deficit spending is less than 6% of GDP. Government stimulus at wartime levels. NVIDIA has a higher market cap than countries, bigger than all 5 national stock markets, which is absolutely crazy. And again, this is leading the artificial intelligence narratives. If you want to know more about AI, check out my BitTensor briefs. Record buybacks, right? Corporate repurchase hitting 2026. I think they the TGA and the thing that's going on with that. I'm not a macroeconomic expert, so make sure you do research on TGA and the record buybacks, 1.2 trillion. No income tax, right? Trump pledges to eliminate income taxes. Guess what? More people can invest. And of course, 2026, possibly returns of the stimmies, right? Trump promises stimulus checks in 2026. And I would even add the possible replacement. So 11 would be the possible replacement of Jerome Powell. So yes, things are bearish. Yes, everybody's away from cryptocurrency, enjoying their holidays, and you should too. But that doesn't mean you don't need, that doesn't mean it's the end, right? You can kind of like disconnect, but keep your ear to the game, keep your ear to the streets, because there are catalysts that could cause this market to explode going into 2026, similar to what we've seen in 2022 when we had a bearish Q4, and then 2023 January was explosive, right? I think December 2024, right before Trump got inaugurated, explosive. So things could be bearish, but things could turn really, really quick. And it's important for me as a content creator to bring these points of interest to you guys so you guys have an understanding of how I personally feel. Short-term bearish, mid-term bearish, but these bearish environments can create opportunities because we got an unprecedented liquidity tsunami incoming. And you don't want to like risk not being a part of it because you thought it was all over. Yes, maybe you take, 25% in now, but you was 75% in then, right? You're like, okay, at least I still got something in case this happens, right? If it doesn't happen, you took a risk. It is what it is. But you aren't 99% in. So always, when you watch any YouTuber, understand your financial situation and practice risk management. Anyway, let me know what you think about these catalysts. Is this going to allow us to truly have an altcoin season? Would love to know everybody's opinion. Also, make sure that you like, subscribe, check out those links in the description. It's your boy Crypto Millie. I'll see you in the next one.